Picture the worst day you can imagine. Now multiply it by 1,000. Throughout history, the world has been hit by disasters so massive they wiped entire cities off the map in seconds. Some were nature, some were human stupidity. All of them changed the world forever. Today, we are going through the worst disasters ever recorded. What happened, why it happened, and how many never made it home. Let's begin. First, Pompeii. 79 AD. In ancient Rome, there was a beautiful city called Pompeii, sitting right at the foot of a mountain called Vesuvius. Life was good. Markets, baths, busy streets. Nobody knew the mountain was a volcano. Nobody even had a word for it. Then one morning, it woke up. Vesuvius erupted with the force of hundreds of atomic bombs. A column of ash and rock shot miles into the sky. For hours, burning debris rained down on the city. Then came the worst part. A wave of superheated gas and ash rushed down the mountain at the speed of a race car, hot enough to kill instantly. The entire city was buried under meters of ash. Thousands died exactly where they stood. And here is the eerie part. The ash preserved everything. Centuries later, when the city was dug up, they found perfect hollow shapes in the ash, the exact positions of people in their final moment. Pompeii became a city frozen in time. Next, the Black Death. 1347. This is not one city. This is the deadliest disaster in human history. A disease arrived in Europe, carried by fleas on rats that traveled on trading ships. People called it the Black Death because of the dark swellings it caused on the body. There was no cure. There was barely even an understanding of what it was. Once it arrived in a town, it spread like wildfire. You could be healthy in the morning and dead by night. Whole families gone. Whole villages emptied. The dead piled up faster than anyone could bury them. In just a few years, the Black Death killed an estimated 200 million people. Let that sink in. It wiped out somewhere between a third and half of everyone in Europe. Cities lost so many people that it took 200 years for the population to recover. No war, no other plague, nothing in recorded history has ever killed on that scale. Next, the Great Lisbon Earthquake. 1755. On a holy morning when the churches of Lisbon, Portugal were packed with people, the ground tore itself apart. A massive earthquake struck, collapsing buildings across the city in minutes. Survivors ran to the open space near the river to escape the falling rubble. But the disaster was just getting started. The earthquake had triggered something out at sea. About 40 minutes later, the water along the shore suddenly pulled back, exposing the seabed. Curious crowds wandered out to look. Then the ocean came back as a giant tsunami, swallowing the waterfront and everyone on it. And then fires broke out from all the overturned candles and stoves, burning for days. Earthquake, then tsunami, then firestorm. 3 disasters in one. Tens of thousands of people were killed, and one of Europe's greatest cities was left in ruins. Next, the Titanic. 1912. This one wasn't nature. This one was human pride. The Titanic was the largest, most luxurious ship ever built. It was so advanced that people genuinely called it unsinkable. There were not even enough lifeboats for everyone on board because nobody believed they would ever be needed. On its very first voyage across the Atlantic, late at night, a lookout spotted an iceberg dead ahead. Too late. The ship scraped along it, tearing a series of holes below the waterline. Slowly, then faster, the unsinkable ship began to sink. There was not enough room in the lifeboats. The water was freezing cold, and help was too far away to arrive in time. More than 1,500 people died in the icy water that night. The ship everyone said could never sink was at the bottom of the ocean on its first trip. A perfect lesson in what happens when humans believe they have beaten nature. Next, the Hindenburg, 1937. In the 1930s, the future of travel was supposed to be giant airships. Floating hotels in the sky, bigger than 3 football fields, holding people up with balloons of gas. The Hindenburg was the king of them all. A luxury German airship that crossed oceans in style. But there was a deadly problem. To float, it was filled with hydrogen, a gas that is incredibly flammable. As the Hindenburg came in to land in front of a waiting crowd and news cameras, something sparked. In an instant, the entire airship erupted into a giant fireball. The whole thing was gone in around 30 seconds, crashing to the ground in flames. It was caught on film, broadcast everywhere, and it horrified the world. Just like that, the dream of giant airships was over forever. People decided the sky was safer without them. Next, Bhopal, 1984. This is the worst industrial disaster in history, and barely anyone talks about it. In the city of Bhopal, India, there was a factory that made pesticides. It sat right next to neighborhoods packed with sleeping families. The safety systems at the factory had been failing and neglected for a long time. One night, water leaked into a tank holding a hugely toxic gas. The chemical reaction that followed was catastrophic. Around 40 tons of poisonous gas escaped into the air and rolled silently through the streets while everyone slept. People woke up choking, eyes burning, unable to breathe. Thousands died that first night alone. The total death toll is believed to be around 20,000, and hundreds of thousands more were left injured for life. And decades later, the site was still never properly cleaned up. The survivors are still living with it. A disaster caused not by nature, but by a company that cut corners. Next, Chernobyl, 1986, the worst nuclear disaster in human history. In what is now Ukraine, then part of the Soviet Union, there was a nuclear power plant called Chernobyl. One night, during a poorly run safety test, reactor number 4 overheated and exploded. The explosion blew the roof clean off the reactor and threw radioactive material miles into the sky. The amount of radiation released was several times greater than the atomic bombs dropped on Japan. But here is what made it so much worse. The Soviet government tried to hide it. They did not warn people. The nearby city of Pripyat carried on normally for over a day while invisible radiation poured over them. Children played outside in it. Eventually, they evacuated the entire city. 50,000 people left and never came back. To this day, the area around Chernobyl is an abandoned ghost zone, and it will stay dangerous for thousands of years. The cleanup involved over 500,000 people and remains the most expensive disaster ever. Next, the Indian Ocean tsunami. 2004. The day after Christmas, deep under the sea near Indonesia, 2 giant plates of the Earth's crust suddenly snapped. It caused one of the most powerful earthquakes ever recorded. But the earthquake was not the killer. The killer was the wall of water it pushed outward in every direction. Traveling as fast as a jet plane across the open ocean, the tsunami raced toward coastlines in 14 different countries. In some places, people had only minutes of warning. In many, they had none at all. The waves hit beaches packed with locals and holidaymakers, reaching far inland and sweeping away everything in their path. There was no warning system in place to alert anyone in time. Around 230,000 people were killed across more than a dozen countries, making it one of the deadliest natural disasters in modern history. Afterward, the world finally built the warning systems that could have saved so many of them. So there it is. Volcanoes, plagues, earthquakes, sinking ships, exploding reactors, walls of water. Some of these disasters were nature reminding us how small we really are. Others were caused by human pride, greed, or carelessness, completely avoidable if only someone had listened. And that is the pattern that runs through almost all of them. The warning signs were usually there. The mountain that was a volcano, the ship without enough lifeboats, the factory falling apart. Someone, somewhere, could have done something sooner. The question is never really if the next great disaster will come. It is whether, this time, we will see it coming, and whether we will actually listen.